Hello, hello, hello. I'm going to give everyone a minute to get reset here. I know it takes a second for folks to get, there we go, full size run. No, it takes a second for ads to play and all of that stuff. This is, I see the yap, yes. They promised me, they were like, oh, our stream's going to be done by 1:30 Eastern. It's now 2 Eastern, but that's okay. I was lots of good content there, so. I'm going to give folks a minute or two to roll in here. I'm going to say refresh the page. And jellyfish hats. I will talk to our good friends at Brand Makers and see what we can do there. So, um, if anyone is planning on following along at home for this stream, I would recommend getting the Gemini CLI installed. I am learning with y'all today, though. This is basically brand new for me. I've done some very light testing with Gemini CLI. Like I did my authentication and setup for it. I really wanted to learn with y'all for this. I'm going to try and use the CLI to modify an existing hackathon project I have. I'm going to try and get the CLI to do all my code for me here. Hopefully we don't have to open up VS Code, but we'll see if that ends up being the case or not here. I'm going to give it a few more minutes though for folks to roll in. So, oh, check-in link. That's a great call. I'm rusty here, gang. I got to be honest with y'all. Let's see if we can find it together. I will screen share. I'll get this up on screen for y'all. Y'all can yell at me for having a very small monitor. I promise I'll zoom in throughout here. All right, let's go to our schedule here. And today is day 5. Here you go. And this is going to be your check-in link right here. Oh, Wei beat me to it, didn't he? Yeah, well, there we go. Well, I tried, gang. I tried to get it. But if you check in on this page, you should get that green bar, and then you should be good to go. All right, hello. This is nerve-wracking with all the coaches in chat here. I feel like I gotta live up to expectations here. So, alrighty, friends, I am gonna jump into it here. I will do my best to have y'all follow along. Bam! Here is the Gemini CLI GitHub repo if you're interested in it. I see somebody already asking a question about installation, I think, here. But if you scroll down, they have a quick start section here. Just npm install this, and it should be good to go for you. I have already done my installation and done my theme setup and all that good stuff. Just want to call out here as well. Make sure you use a personal Google account if you're interested in those model requests that you get as part of that. 60 model requests per minute and 1,000 per day. And hopefully we don't hit any limits while we're going here. We're doing a good table, bad table with your stream. Please don't. I'm very rusty here. Siddharth cornered me and asked me to do a stream, and I was like, all right, sure, we can make it happen. So, all right, and let me increase my font size in here as well for y'all. We'll go 36 maybe. Let's see if that works. And then we're gonna do some directory changing here. Slash, I think it's in my personal, yeah. And we'll go right there. That's gonna be A-okay. That's where we wanna be. So we're gonna have, this is gonna be our Gemini CLI window over here. Let's make sure that's working. So if you just type Gemini, it should open up for us. Give it a second here though. There we go. That is working, which is awesome to see. So I did my installation for this earlier, just for anyone again who is following along. Mary actually left the room, Adam. She left the office because she didn't want to be a disruption in the background. So yes, I am a Windows user. It's my greatest shame as a programmer. So you're gonna have to deal with seeing command prompts. I didn't use PowerShell today. I thought that would be too much for people. So I'm going to go ahead and actually close out of the Gemini CLI. So that is working. And the next thing I'm going to do is show you all the project I'm going to work on here, and I'll link this in chat for folks as well. Bam. So I went to a hackathon, I guess a month or two back at this point. Oh, 2 months ago, I can tell from my commit history. Went to a hackathon 2 months ago with Swift and John, and we built a website that helped coach you through playing board games. The hackathon was sponsored by some other folks And so we used this tool called the Langflow for the back, or part of the back end for it. What I'm hoping to do today is actually replace that Langflow backend with just like raw Gemini usage. The reason I want to make that change is because to use Langflow, we have a DigitalOcean like droplet or server, I forget what they call them, that is actually hosting that. And that costs a little bit more per month than just like having Gemini. I'm just going to try to get this running locally, though, is going to be my goal here. I'm going to have Gemini CLI actually make the changes to my code that I want to have happen, and we'll kind of go along on that journey together here. But if y'all are interested, this whole application was actually coded using Gemini's build feature in their AI Studio app. And so I kind of want to keep on theme here and not write any code myself is the objective here. Does Google still offer 15 months of free Google AI Pro to students? I don't know the answer to that. I would assume yes, but their AI offerings have been changing very frequently, so I would not be shocked if that has changed in some capacity. So if we take a look at this repo, it's actually got a really well-written README, thanks to our friends at Google. Gemini wrote all of this for us, but we have this backend here that uses Langflow. We want to replace that. And ultimately, we want to get this running locally as our objective. Here you can see a screenshot of Swift when he was building this inside of AI Studio. So let's see if we can get started here. We're just going to start with a little git clone. Git clone this. Oh, I'm in the wrong directory. CD MLH. Let's try that one more time. There we go. And we'll CD into our new directory here. So we now are in the space that has this whole project. You can see all the different files and things like that in here. Good to go. Do we have swag drops on this stream? Just asking. Yeah, I'll give a swag drop out at some point, inevitably. I don't have one on hand right this second, but I would be happy to give one out at some point here. So then we have our directory here. And so the next thing I'm going to do is actually just boot up the Gemini CLI. And we're going to have Gemini explain this project. Like we have the GitHub repo and a really nice README, but something I want to just test here is like, can you explain this project structure to me? What is going on here? That's probably too many words already, but. Oh, Adam's getting Uber Eats. How exciting. So Gemini is thinking here, and let's see what it says here. So based on the file and directory names, this appears to be a full stack web application. I'll read some key files, give you some more details. And so we have slow response times detected, so it's going to switch to 2.5 flash. Does that automatically. I think there's a way to disable that in the Gemini CLI settings, but regardless here, this is actually a fine task for flash. It's a full stack web app designed to be an AI powered board game companion. Yep, it's got a front end, which is React and TypeScript, located in the front end directory. Great. And then it has a back end server.js. Cool. It has some AI integrations with Gemini and Langflow. And again, we want to try and replace this Langflow component today. How do you connect the CLI with the dock or browser? So for this one, I actually did not connect the CLI to any sort of external documents or browsers. You could do that with like an MCP tool or something like that. All I did was clone this repository on the right-hand side. So I cloned all of these files up here onto my machine. And then I am in that folder and using the Gemini CLI. So it's like reading the files that are actively on my machine right now. And then are you using this with your MLH email or your personal? I'm actually using my personal for the CLI, but we are going to use an MLH API key later on in this if everything goes to plan. Functionally, for what we're doing today, they're going to be functionally the same. But good question there. So we were talking about the AI integration here. Great. It has some configuration stuff that you'd expect. Awesome. And then workflow summary. So the user uploads a PDF rulebook via the front end. The backend processes the PDF using Langflow and Gemini, generating a system prompt. Cool. User accesses a live game interface. Yep. We interact with voice by holding the backtick key and ask questions. The system captures audio, screenshots, etc. And this data is generated, it's sent to Gemini, and Gemini provides advice or rule clarifications. Cool. So I'm going to ask, let's pretend here that I actually don't know how to get this project set up, and I'm actually just going to ask Gemini for some help here. Can you help me get this project running locally? would help if I could type. How does it work here? I'm happy to answer questions. So how does it work? It works only with code or kind of like Cursor? It's a little bit of both. You can use this for, and let me actually crack back open. This is the Gemini CLI repo here. Down at the bottom, they have a couple of really cool examples where you can do like automated workflows. Like here's one for making a slide deck, things like that. But very, very cool tool. I definitely would recommend playing around with it. If you're not already familiar with MCP servers, you can connect MCP servers to Gemini CLI as well, which I have not gotten to explore yet, but I know it's like a big feature that a lot of people like about Claude Code, so which is a similar product. All right, so here it wants to do some, I can help you get this running. Since it's full stack, we need to set up the back end and front end. Great, no environment variables. I know it's going to be an issue later on, but that's all right. Install backend dependencies, cool. So I'm going to try this in the integrated shell. So one of the cool things about Gemini CLI is it has this like yellow box here is a integrated shell. I was having issues with this earlier on Windows. Let's see if this works or not. And if not, we'll open up a new. Oh, it worked great. Awesome. That's fantastic. And so here, this is doing the front end install inside of that front end folder for us as well. Let's do that. Awesome. Adios, Adam. We'll catch you later. Awesome. So now that the dependencies are installed, it's going to make a .env for us. Cool. So it has a bunch of different files here. I'll create a great, and it's just going to put some placeholders in for us, which is totally fine as well. Cool. So then it's going to give us instructions on actually getting those keys. And it's going to want us to start the backend server. So this, I think, is going to fail to actually starting the backend server. It basically hangs. So if you're familiar at all with like starting a server or anything like that, it's your command prompt or whatever you're hosting that in is going to give you something that's like, hey, this is available on port whatever. The Gemini CLI, for me at least on Windows, has not been jumping back into the actual like user interaction mode after I run that. So we'll give this a try once, and if not, I'll just open up a new command prompt and we'll try it there. So my expectation would be that this like pops back out in a second and I can enter in more chat, but we'll see if that happens or not. Perfect. Just making sure I'm not missing anything in chat. I'm cursing myself here for my small screen size. I got to zoom in on StreamYard so I can pay attention to what y'all are saying. So here we go. We're at like 25 seconds already. And so I suspect that this worked, but it just didn't work like with the integrated shell on the CLI. So what I'm going to do instead here is just escape out of this. And what I'm going to do is open up a new command prompt myself. And I'm just going to cd into the right folder here. Speed dev, MLH, and Klaus AI. And then we'll actually just run this command manually ourselves. So here, this was asking us to run node server.js. I'll do my best to just do exactly what Gemini tells me. I'm hoping that I can let this all run on its own. So that's running on port 3000. Let's make sure that's actually working. So if I go to localhost 3000, cool, I can see our backend here. And it's quite small for those of you at home. I'll zoom that in. This is just meant to be like a very trivial spot that you can test the backend. It looks like it's up and running there. Cool, so I'm gonna say, how would I start the front end? Again, my goal here is like, I wanna let Gemini pilot for as much of this stuff, as much of the stuff as possible. So here it's recommending npm run dev in the front end folder. And again, here I'm worried about this hanging. So I'm just gonna actually run this myself. I'll open up one more command prompt. And we'll do that same exercise here. We'll cd // and then cd into dev, MLH, and Klaus. And I see a question here about, is Klaus AI, is AI vampire joke or just a joke? Klaus AI was the name we came up with in the tail end of our project, or the tail end of our time allotted. Klaus, I can't remember his name, is the person who invented Settlers of Catan, which is like the iconic like intro to crunchy board games. Me, John, Swift, all love like a really in-depth crunchy board games. That was the inspiration here. So we're just going to do what Gemini said here again. So npm run dev. Let's see if that works. And so we are running into an issue here. And I'm not in the right folder is why. So I need to cd into our front end folder. And I could have actually just asked Gemini what that error was, but I got ahead of myself and knew what was going on. We'll give this one more try here. And let's see if that works for us. Cool. So that seems to be working as well, and that's on port 5173. So let's open that up in our browser and see if that works as well. So again, localhost and 5173, rocking. So this looks like it's working, at least our front end is, and it's zoomed in, so maybe not quite the exact display that we'd expect. But this is all these images were generated by Google and Gemini, the Imagen tooling. I think if we try to upload a rulebook here, this is going to fail. So I'm going to search. I have a rulebook ready to go here for a game called Battle Line. So if we upload this, we're going to get a error here. There's a couple of different things that would be causing this. We don't have our environment variables set for one thing. That Langflow backend that we talked about also isn't working. It's like not turned on actively right now. And so we want to go through and actually see if we can update those things. And again, we're going to try and use Gemini to make that happen. What was that package node error? That package node error was just because I was in the wrong folder, is the short version here. One other thing I just want to show before we actually jump into making some of those changes. So let's look at a game that already exists here. This add a new game feature that we just saw aired out. The view is a little messed up here, but we can see that this like play game state is working correctly. When we first made this project, I'm not sure where to look now. When we first made this project, we imagined the webcam would be face down so that people could like send live captures of their game. I actually want to modify this today so that we can upload an image of our game state as well. So we'll try and make that change as well. And then I suspect things like the recording are not going to work currently because, again, like I just deployed this without doing any real setup here. But let's give this a shot and see. Hello there. And I suspect this is going to error out. Oh, I got it. Look at that. It took a screenshot and everything. And I don't know that it's going to reply to us. I think it will error out on the reply. But ideally, the way this works is you press and hold that backtick. You explain what's going on. You say like, hey, this is my turn. And then it takes a screenshot of the board state. And then it's going to give you some advice. Everyone following with me so far? Cool. So let's go back to the homepage here for our, we'll just do a little reload here to get back to our homepage. And we're going to go over to the CLI here and actually start to make some changes. So I know we need to deal with the .env, but I'm actually going to keep that on the back burner because I'm planning on removing a bunch of that Langflow stuff anyway. The first thing I'd like to do is actually update that webcam thing. I'd prefer to be able to upload a screenshot. So I'm going to say, and I'm typing in the wrong spot. It's all right. So we pop back over here. I'm going to say on each of the game pages, it currently uses a webcam to capture board state. And we add an option for users to upload an image instead. Ideally, if they can toggle between either option. Feels like a better user experience. So we're just going to let that rip and see what happens here. I'm going to do my best to accept all of the all of the changes that Gemini suggests, which is perhaps risky for a real development project, but for a hack like this, I think that's totally okay. So let's see here. It's talking back to us here. Modify the front end, add a toggle. Yep. It's going to examine a couple of specific files for us. That looks good. Here it's using a tool to read a bunch of files. So it knows what file is responsible for actually handling this. Great. So it's going to add a state variable. It's going to modify the UI. It's going to update the image capture logic. Okay. And then it's going to adjust these to trigger the image source. Great. And I'll add it. Great. Okay, that looks like a reasonably thought out plan. We need board game streams. I would not complain. So Yes, this image, this landing page is entirely generated by Gemini. Even these little like images in here, like the dice, things like that, Gemini actually generated all of those itself, which is very cool. Great, we're just gonna let this make changes and we'll see how much trouble we get ourselves in as a result. So here it failed to make an edit, but it's gonna try that again. Cool. And do I know what the prompt was? Yes, I'm almost positive I can dig it out. This was all done inside while we're thinking over here on the left. This was all done inside the build feature on Gemini's AI Studio. So if you come over here on the left, there's this little build button. And this was all done in there. I don't have the exact prompt, but I'm sure I can find it. I just have to switch accounts and grab it. So. And I think I missed a question as well. Yes. How often do you experience command times using Gemini CLI? I experience it often with Windsurf. I was hoping to bring Gemini CLI in for terminal command executions. I'm brand new to using Gemini CLI. I noticed that issue with like running a server inside of their integrated shell, which on some level I kind of expect. I'm not shocked by that. I really haven't run into issues outside of that yet, but I have not used it extensively either. So I don't want to misrepresent my experience there. And we're just going to keep willy-nilly accepting these suggestions and we'll see how much trouble we get into here. All right, and we're still making changes. That is a-okay. And I'm just accepting these manually. You can turn these to auto accept as well, but I'm trying to keep some level of awareness for the sake of the stream, but we'll see here. We'll let this go and do its thing. All right, so it's made the necessary changes. It's going to add an effect. Okay, we'll allow that. Okay, and then it wants to do the script here again. I'm going to escape out of that and run that myself. If I pull back over here to our extra command windows, I'm going to close out of this. I actually don't know that I need to terminate this and run it again, but we will just be safe. So we'll come back here, we'll give this a refresh, and let's see what that generated for us. The website still loads, which I'm excited about. And there you go, look at that. It added these buttons for us. That's awesome. That like fully one-shot that, switches back and forth. We love to see it. And let's see if we can actually upload a file as well. This I'm more concerned with. And then I just uploaded earlier today, I grabbed a test image we can use. So that file is there. And then let's try maybe, what's the current board state? And there you go. It actually pulled in my image and everything there. That's awesome. And again, the talkback is not working currently, but again, that's like our next step here. That's part of our backend stuff. So I'm glad this like one-shot this little feature for us. I'm sure there are things that we could have done differently or whatever, but I will take that as a hacker who's short on time. So the next thing I'd like to do is actually yank out some of that line flow stuff and just replace it straight up with Gemini. The reason, again, I want to do this is because we're paying for a DigitalOcean server to host that line flow backend, and I'm pretty sure I can accomplish the same stuff with just using Gemini directly. And yes, talkback is in an answer. So in the real like working version of this, after you send in a command, like you talk to it, it will talk back to you and tell you about the board state. It uses like text to speech to talk back to you. So what I'm going to do here, this one's a little bit more complex. Like this involves modifying our, and can you all read this terminal? I'm like looking over at the other screen. I actually don't know how clear that is. I can increase the font size one more go for y'all if you want. Like let's do maybe like 48. I feel like maybe that'll be a little bit better. How's that working for everyone at home? And let that freak out for a second. All right. Oh, it's clear for you. All right, well, now you have it one size bigger anyway. So here we're gonna ask it to start with a plan. Before it actually starts implementing anything, I want it to tell me specifically like what the goal is here. So start with a plan. This app currently uses Langflow as a portion of its backend. Could we replace that usage with the Gemini API directly? That's clear for everybody. You'll love to see it. So here we're going to let this think a little bit. And again, my goal here today is I want to try and let Gemini make all these changes for me. I have a safety ready to go in case we get off track, but ideally this does work for us. So here is the plan. Let's see what it does here. So the current setup uses Langfo to process rulebooks and generate a system prompt in a JSON schema. The system prompt is a rule set as a system prompt for an AI. So just to show you where that exists on the website here. So that's this system prompt here. It will actually like pipe in a custom system prompt for whatever rule book you upload. And then a JSON schema. The JSON schema is a representation of the board state. So in this case, it would like have which cards are in which columns and some things like that. And we use AI to actually generate both of those. So here's the plan. It's going to install a PDF parsing library. Okay, we're already going a different route than we did before, but that's all right. We're going to remove everything length overdated. We're going to use to extract text. Okay. So I'm actually going to course correct it here. I'm going to say no. And I'm going to say, yes, don't use PDF parse, send the PDFs to Gemini directly. I would ideally like to skip that step, but we'll see if this follows my instructions now. Gemini is multimodal by default, which is one of the reasons I really like hacking with it. And so here it's going to switch to Flash. That's fine. Great. Supports this. Cool. So it's going to modify things. Great. And then here you can see it used a tool search. So it's actually searching the web to see if the Gemini API can directly accept this PDF. It is thinking currently. We'll give it a minute. I'm worried my scrolling has messed it up partially because it's not upticking here, but we'll give it a second. Maybe if we resize, it'll refresh itself. Yeah, there you go. So we'll give this a second to think through its response. Hopefully this works for us. Then if not, we'll try one more time. We might have to break this down into some smaller steps. I'm admittedly being a little lazy here, just saying replace my entire backend, but we'll see. We shall see. So I'll give this at least 90 seconds to think or something like that, and we'll jump into it. If folks did have other questions as well, I'm always happy to answer those too. And what package error did you run into, 502? Are 502 and 404 friends? Is this like we've named ourselves similarly, or is this just a coincidence in the programming community? Alrighty, so it got back to us. So it hit a quota error, but I'll just proceed assuming Gemini can handle the direct input. Okay, fine, we'll take that. So here it wants to remove Langfo dependencies. Yep. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and allow that. Excuse me, I'm laughing over here at 502 and 404, the response there. Well, hopefully you do maybe start a guild for like all of the error codes or something like that. Cool, so it's again removing stuff for us here. Next, it's going to remove this from the upload endpoints. And here, let's see what it's doing. It's editing. Okay, I'm not super alarmed by any of this yet. Okay, so it uploaded the endpoint directly use Gemini. Great. Okay, it's going to remove this dependency from the package. Yes. We'll go ahead and allow that. And now it wants to reinstall these, and I'm actually going to do this myself. Oh, no, the npm install works fine. It's actually running the server that does not. Oop, I'm also noticing my camera got blurry on us. We'll see if it refocuses itself or not. All right, so the backend dependencies have been updated. We need to set the things in our .env here. and then it wants us to run the project again. Let me fix my camera real quick. Do a little like that. Is that going to refocus? It's going to drive me crazy. It really does not want to refocus. That's all right. You all can deal with blurry Ryan for a little bit here. So let's actually go ahead and make these changes here. So we're going to just use Control C to get out of our existing stuff here. We're just going to restart everything. So there's our backend running again. And here we're going to run our front end as well. And I'm realizing as well, I forgot to update my .env. I am going to do that on a different screen though, because I don't want to expose my API key to y'all. I guess I am going to open up VS Code to do that. I don't use any like inline editors in Terminal, but that's all right. So I'm just opening up VS Code on the side here. I'll narrate at the very least for everyone at home. So I'm going to go to my MLH projects, and then I'm going to go to Klaus AI, and then there's a .env here that I'm going to update. I'll actually show you. Here's that .env, and that's way too small for everyone at home. Here is that .env that it made for me earlier with all of those placeholders. I'm going to get rid of all this length flow stuff. I'm going to close that again. Bam. And here I'm going to update this with a Gemini API key. In case anyone has not grabbed one before, I'll just show you how to do that real quick. I'm going to go to AI Studio here. And inside of AI Studio, I'm going to hit the Get API key button. And finally, my webcam refocused. That was driving me up the wall. Fortunately, you can't see any of these keys here, but all you have to do is just hit Create API key and it'll get you a new one. So I'll move this off screen real quick. I'm going to grab that, copy it. I'm going to head back to the chat interface here, pull this back on for y'all. And then I'm going to grab this. And I will save my updated key. Perfect. And I'm going to close out of VS Code because my hope is that we don't have to use it again. So if we go back to our command line interfaces here, I'm going to restart everything one last time. Did any of my NPM friends know why you get this batch job warning on NPM run dev? I'd never do development in with nodes. I was surprised to see that earlier. I was surprised you can't just cancel out of it by default, like you can up here for the node server.js. Cool, so we updated both of those. And let me crack back over to the actual application. We'll give this a refresh just to be safe. Alrighty, let's see here. So I'm going to try and add a new game, and I'm going to search for Battle Line again. And we ran into an issue here. So trying to upload, check your connection to the server. And let's make sure that our backend is actually loaded here. And let's see, and actually before I do that, let me see if I have errors on any of these. I don't. So I bet you what's happened here is that this front end is probably still trying to upload to our DigitalOcean like backend server. And so we actually just need to update that to use localhost instead. Let me see if I can get Gemini to figure that out for us though. I'm curious to see if it figures that out. I tried, oh, that's the wrong spot. I tried to upload a file on the front end and got an error. And then I'll actually type out the error. Well, that's perhaps not the most effective way of doing that. I'm going to say, check your network or check your connection and the server details failed to fetch. And then I don't see any errors in the command prompts where the backend is running. And maybe that's already too much information. It might have been able to get it with less. But is it because of the CPU that is getting consumed why we see glitches? I'm not sure what you're talking about here. What glitches are you talking about? And so here we go. This actually did find exactly the error that I was hoping it would. So you can see it kind of thinking through things here. So I checked the server.js. It realized that it was configured to run on this port. It checked the front end, and then it saw in the front end that this is actually referencing this DigitalOcean server I talked about before. It's going to switch that over to our localhost version again for what we're trying to do here today. That's exactly what I want. I'm going to allow that change. Great. And then it's going to do the same thing here. Yep, that's perfect. And game view, and this is the audio URL. Sure, we'll give that a shot as well. Okay. And it wants us to restart everything as well. I don't know that we need to here again, but just for the sake of being thorough, we will. So go ahead and run our node server. We'll terminate this and we'll run that again. And let's see where that gets us. So let's give this one more refresh. Cool, we'll scroll down. We'll try and add a new game here. And like I've been doing this whole time, I'm gonna look for battle line. Great. All right, it's uploading our rulebook. You'll love to see it. That's a different interaction. So we're happy about that. This is probably going to take a second. I am worried that this will fail as well. I would probably want to keep an eye on our back end here and see if we get any errors or anything like that. Hopefully Gemini just one-shot this for us, but we'll give it a minute to think. How long before I panic here is the real question. I suppose I could open up some like console or go look at something, but we'll try and hold our breath and believe here. There you go. Awesome. So let's take a look here at the system prompts. Remember, this is what that PDF we uploaded is supposed to generate. So here it's came in and said, you're an expert board game coach for Battleline. Your goal is to help players understand the rules, strategize, and analyze the game. It has a explanation of the rules here. It has strategic advice. Awesome. Game state analysis. Cool. So 9 flags. This is all correct. I don't know how familiar everyone at home is with the game Battleline, but this looks good so far. And then it has an interaction style as well. And here is the AI, the JSON like board state as well. And so this is going to have a kind of a breakdown of the board state in a way that a machine could understand in theory. Cool. So let's try and upload an image and see what happens here. We're going to do choose file. We'll use our Battleline test image. And then I am going to have to ask it for advice. So I will use the backtick button here, and I'm going to give it an ask. I'm going to ask it what card I should play, and we'll see what happens here. What card should I play? So this image is getting cropped a little bit, which I'm curious about. Like it's not orientated the way that I would expect. So we'll see if this actually works on this. On the right-hand side, I can see that it is calling Gemini, which is potentially exciting. And the coach is thinking. We'll give it a second here. Ideally, it should talk back to us, but we'll hold our breath again here. So here it did give us a big response in the back end. Oops, scrolled right past it. So it's generating the text summary. And let's see here if it got any of these correct. So here it's going to try and generate audio for us using text-to-speech. Cool, this is all working as intended. And were you all able to hear that? I don't actually know if that audio played back or not. With my screen share, it cut out. So it actually was not great advice, which is like something we could keep working on. I can try and run that again to see if we can get it to play back for y'all. But it gave us advice to play a card in flag 4. So one thing we're doing here, this view is kind of cropped in an unfortunate way. It actually doesn't include the full board state. So that might be causing a problem here. Let's see if we can actually get the, oh, I can just play the audio for you. It saved it. So let's go grab that real quick. Streamer doesn't pass audio share. Is that the case? Let me see if I can, let me stop my screen share real quick and see if I can figure that out then. Present, share screen, entire screen, and share system audio. Here we go. Let's try that again, gang. And I'll add this back to stage. So let me try and run this again. So this image let me open this image in a new tab so y'all can see the uncut version of it here. So what I would hope that it recommends here is just playing the purple 10 in this one column. Now, obviously this is or maybe not obviously if you've never played this game before, this is a simplified view of this. But let's see if we can even get that working. So let's try this one more time with audio now. What card should I play in my first flag or on my first flag? And here is a bug. So let's give this a refresh. Oh, I guess that wasn't a refresh. I should have stayed on that page. Well, that's all right. Let's see if we can get this to work though. I think it's going to regenerate our entire rule set for us, but that's all right. We'll be patient here for a second. I was thinking that I needed to, it was going to use the exact same image as before, but I actually think by design we don't do that. So I can play that audio though while we wait, so you can hear what it did last time. We'll see if we can get a different response from it. So if I go to my folder here, dev, MLH, Klaus, and then where did this get saved? Public audio. And can I open this with VLC maybe?
Play a card at an empty flag, such as flag 4, to establish a new front and put pressure on player 2's limited hand.
You like that voice? You can hear it now, good. So I'm glad you find that entertaining. John had a lot of fun selecting which voice we were going to use for this project. So I will grab our test image, and let me actually try a different test image as well. Let me open up on, let me do it like this here. I'm going to do this on my side screen. So if y'all give me a second, we will try a different image and see if we can get a better response out of this. So let's try. I wish I had the image of like what I actually did live for this hackathon, but I don't think I do. Let's try this and save image as. We call this battle line test 2. Great. Pop back over to you all. And let's upload an image. We're going to choose file. We're going to try this. And so this image is just, I can actually show you the board ahead of time here as well. So here is the image that we're going to upload to it in a second. And the question I'm going to ask it is who's winning each of these flags? And we'll see if it actually gives us the correct response or not for those. So let's go back into our window here and let's give this another shot. Is the left or right player winning each of these flags? And so we can watch on our back end here and see what happens. And my hope is that this actually plays out for us. And then if that works, we will try another hand as well. The perfect audiobook voice. You can use that right in AI Studio, like while we're killing time here and waiting for this. If you come into, I think it's in stream mode. Yeah, if you select your voice in here, I can't remember this person's name. Maybe it was Oris. I don't know though. I'm sure it's in the code somewhere that we could go see which voice it's supposed to be. But and in fact, you can go and look in the GitHub as well, I'm sure. But this is just one of the default Gemini voices. So here I can see this is calling Gemini to generate a text summary. Cool. Let's see if that works for us. Pop back over here.
Player 1 left is currently winning flag 1 and flag 2, while player 2 right is winning flag 3.
So let's see if we can, player 3 is winning flag 3. I'm assuming it's talking about the bottom one, which, is that correct? It is winning this one, that's correct here. 3, 4. And sorry, I'm like not explaining this well as I'm going. I'm trying to check its homework. So my Babylon rules, I'm like not, I'm nervous now, but I think that is correct. The 3 of a kind, I think, is beaten by the kind of like the flush here. So you have a 3, 4, 5, a straight flush. I'm pretty sure this wins, which is what it said. And then here, these are just all the same color. So you sum them. So this is 15, 18 versus 18. So this top one should be a tie. It's an F1 commentator who's really into cards. I love that. As somebody who's very into F1 right now, I really am glad to hear that. Oh, and it even has the text right here. I should have just scrolled down. So the left player is winning flag 1 and 2, and while player 2 is winning flag 3. So in a real game, it would depend on who played the card first for this top row. But we'll take that. I think that's pretty accurate. Let's try one more image just for fun here. Let's go back to our original one. So we're going to go to this image. And this is this image here. And you can see this is actually in a different orientation. Like this is vertical versus horizontal in this one. But here I'm going to ask it what card I should play. I'm going to make sure I say that I'm player 1 and ask what card I should play. So let's give that a shot. And I think I already uploaded. So let's give this a shot here. I'm player 1. What card should I play here? And we'll let this think. And so again, my goal here for today was like, we made a bunch of changes to this project. Like if you crack open the GitHub, there's a pretty substantial usage of Langflow in the back end here. We made a change to the front end and actually allowed folks to upload a image instead of just using that webcam input. And I wrote no lines of code for this. Granted, this is an existing hackathon project that I'm already pretty familiar with. But I really am excited about all the different things that you can do with Gemini as a result of all this. So the CLI, a very cool little tool. I think we're going to have a few minutes left, so we might try and set up like an MCP server or something like that as our last task. And then outside of that, I'm going to raffle off a swag drop to some folks in the audience. And we'll wrap it up from there. So if you have any last questions, I'm going to head out in the next like 5 to 10 minutes. So get them in now while you can. So here it is calling it to generate audio for us. And based on the text here, I am concerned.
Play a troop card at flag 2 to secure the flag, as you will then have 3 cards and win the tiebreak against player 2's current formation.
So I don't think that's correct. In flag 2, I'm assuming that means this one. Normally you can only play 3 cards per flag. So it doesn't quite capture it correctly here. Like we could spend some time going through. I am worried that it's an orientation issue where it's not actually recognizing these pips as the flags. And instead it's looking at this horizontally again. But nonetheless, let me move on here. I saw I had a question. And let me pull back up. Where's the Gemini stuff here? We'll leave this on screen while I yap at y'all. We'll do something like this. All right, so then questions here. I have a slightly tangential question. I really love this year's mascot. Jewel is so cool. But what other animals aside from jellyfish would you have loved to see? I'm debating about how much trouble I would get in for showing you the other giraffes. This live stream is going to be on the Twitch and YouTube page for forever, but I am tempted. I feel like I have the power. I'll noodle on that one. I might show you some of the others. At the very least, let me crack open I'll tell you what the other ones we are looking at are. Mascot. I think it's in here. Although Jasper has access to this too, I'm pretty sure, in the audience there, who's yeah, okay, he at least admitted it. So I was like, I feel like I'm getting pressured here. 2026 mascot. Let me see if I can find it real quick. And just looking for the other ones. So the other ones we looked at, Jeroba was one I had not personally, like, I can't say that I was super familiar with what a Jeroba was. Jerboa, my bad. I think I'm mispronouncing that. Jaguar we looked at. Um, but those were the big three that we looked at here for options. And I'll pull back over to this tab. So, all right, I got distracted. So other animals that I would have liked to have seen, I was pulling for jellyfish early on. I have to be honest with you. I wanted an aquatic-based mascot, but jellyfish felt like a good fit right off the bat, and I really like the tie-in with jumper wires as well, or jumper cables. So I would like to hear about the project design decisions for the UI. How much of the project was created with prompts versus written code? So everything about this project was written by prompting. So if you go into our GitHub page, you can see more about this, but we really extensively used this build feature inside of the AI Studio. And so I actually don't know if I can pull it up here. No, I actually can't see it here. But inside of AI Studio, we built the entire project. I think Swift might talk about this in here, but I'm pretty sure he only wrote, let's see here. He doesn't specify in here, but I think he wrote like maybe 2 or 3 lines of code for specific things we were running into. John, who wrote most of our backend stuff, similarly used Gemini to generate code. John used Rucode and Klein, I think, and connected those to Gemini as well. So across the board, we were using AI generated code for this project. That was our core goal coming into this hackathon when we participated in it. We wanted to make sure that we like leveraged these tools because we're out, using them at hackathons and promoting them to student developers, and like we want to make sure that we are using them ourselves. So, Brian, can we get jellyfish jumper cables as part of the swag this year? I'll shoot Evan an email right after this stream. So I know I'm behind on chat here, so let me see what else we've got in here. Wish you went with Pure Boa. I guess that in the thread would have gotten some cool swag. I love Jewel so much. Step a contender for my favorite mascot of all time. Ooh, hello. So did you use Gemini build to build a starting point and pull it down locally and continue developing on it? No, we actually built the entire thing, the entire front end, I should say, inside of builds. We even deployed the live version of this on Cloud Run. So one of the other cool features in this build stuff, let me just start from a template. Showcase Gemini OS, sure. So when you're in this build interface here, you can actually just one-click deploy to Cloud Run in this upper corner here, which is really nice. So our hosted version of this for the hackathon was deployed using that. And then, like I said, we used DigitalOcean. They were another one of the sponsors of the hackathons that we participated in. We were hosting our Langflow backend on DigitalOcean, and we were hosting John's actual backend application on DigitalOcean as well, I'm pretty sure, from memory at least. What did John use for backend? What did he use to generate it, or what's the question there? He, but again, actually, no, let me answer that question and you correct me if I'm wrong here, but he used Rucode and Klein, I think were the 2 tools that he was using. Both of those were plugged directly into Gemini via API keys though. Oh, what stack? You know what? One last Gemini request. Yeah, I'm not even going to answer your question. I'm going to make Gemini answer it. What stack is the backend of this project? And then I'll even Rails. Yes. It is. Yeah, server.js is correct. But and so we'll let Gemini think here and go through some discovery. There you go. But it gives us an answer there, which is awesome. I really am excited. So let me go escape out of this here. So inside of the CLI, I guess this is the last thing I'll show, and then I promise I'll do my swag drop in my last 5 minutes. I'm gonna keep getting distracted here. So inside of the CLI, they have a bunch of tools that are available for you. So they've got a bunch of slash commands in here, which is nice. I really like this compress one. So if you're running out of your context window, you can compress to keep going, which is kind of cool. I also was checking out this like /chat feature earlier to save where you're at with a conversation. I think one of the things I really like about the tooling inside of things like VS Code, so GitHub Copilot or Roo or Klein or any of these other tools is like you can have multiple threads ongoing at the same time. And so this chat interface, I'm excited to explore more. But they've got a bunch of stuff in here. The other one I'll call out specifically is the MCP server support. If you have not played around with MCP servers yet, I would really encourage you to do that as well. I've really been enjoying using tools like this for like quick database queries. And so we've got it hooked up to some of our data. I can go in and like ask like, oh, like how many hackers went to events in the United States last year and things like that, which has been very handy to use. So definitely would recommend checking that out as well. So there were no costs associated with the project between sponsor tools and Gemini. More or less, that's true. I think we probably paid like a trivial amount in API costs, to be totally honest with you. Like we probably spent like $7 on various requests and tools and things like that. But by and large, yes, that is correct. So John and I actually got into, I hate to call it a fight, a spat is maybe a better word for it. But John and I got into it on what we should be using for this project. Ooh, I'm gonna add my screen back. I feel too big there. On what we should be using during the hackathon itself. I really have been thinking about Pro and Flash as they are like, I think a lot of people right now are like Pro is the best one and then Flash is like not as good, which on some ways, like depending on how you dice it, is certainly true. But really, I've been trying to encourage people to think about like they're just two different models and have two different use cases. Like I really would wish the Gemini team would have branded them differently, right? Where it's like, I don't know, one is like I guess Flash is the right branding, but I think Pro inherently feels like it's more powerful to people. I think they just have totally different use cases though. Like I think Flash versus thinking or something like that, although thinking has different connotations with AI models. But anyway, John was really like dead set on using Pro for all of this stuff. And we actually use Flash pretty extensively in our testing and get similar performance. It depends a little bit on like, like any AI project, I think it varies a little bit with what you get out, but a great question here, and definitely something to spend more time on. I am desperately running out of time here, so we're doing a swag drop really quickly here. Where's my friend who is asking questions? So 502, you had a bunch of questions in here, I'm pretty sure, right? Oh, no, it's Professor NYC, right? Let's see, I'm just scrolling back up in chat here. I have somebody else coming on stream after me as well. Okay, I see questions from both 502 and Professor. So for both of you, I am going to give you both a swag drop because, why not? So just open up a Discord thread and let them know that you got a swag drop from Ryan. For Professor, grab a screenshot. This is your chance. And then I'm going to do the exact same thing for 502 as well. Let me scroll back up and find a photo or a chat message here. We'll use this, it worked. So 502 as well, grab a screenshot here. We'll make sure you get a swag drop as well for being an active participant in chat. Rockin'. Cool, and I'm gonna jump back down to new comments here. Perfect, cool. And am I gonna finish with a boba delivery? Is that what's gonna happen here? Oh, the perfect end to a stream. Thank you. I'm getting a fresh boba delivered by the MLHers here for my hard work. All right, gang, it's been a real one. I will catch you all later on. I think Quinn is coming up next, if memory serves me correctly. Let me actually open up the website here. I'll be a good host for everybody. So if we go to schedule here, day 5. So yep, right at 3 here, we have hidden bias, how to build fair models with Quinn. Quinn is a rock star. Definitely join his stream here, but I'm going to log off so he can get started. I really appreciate y'all hanging out with me. I hope you had fun. It was certainly a good little excuse to use Gemini CLI for me. Thanks, everyone.